Why does it say that? Hello, good evening. That's really weird. One of my cameras says I've been live for 1.5 minutes already. I hope not, because I was singing. Oh, that would have chased anybody off that might have been here. All right. So tonight I'm going to show you the method that I use for painting easy spring flowers. So tulips, daffodils, and I don't know if they're roses. They're just kind of a little something that I just kind of make up. Roses are not so much of a springtime flower, so maybe it's a, what's that one? Ranunculus? I don't know. I don't know. My house is where plants come to die, so really I'm not an expert. Okay, how's everyone doing tonight? Thank you for getting on here with me. The first thing I'm gonna do, I'll just show you what I have on my palette. A little messy. I got crazy with my blue. I've got my titanium white, Mars black, cobalt blue, ranunculus. Okay, thank you, Sherry. How are you doing? Here, bright red and violet. So try not to get too caught up with the names of the paint colors when you're buying paint. Just, you know, I'm just starting with the primary colors here. Pretty much any variety will do. There are so many different names between paint brands. And some of them even label their colors like primary red. And good. I'm glad you're joining me. Thank you. Yeah, and primary yellow. I've seen a lot of those where they're just named primary whatever. I even have primary magenta in my collection, which actually magenta and turquoise makes a fabulous purple when you mix that together. And I've got just a variety of brushes. This is a super small canvas, so really the only reason I would need this bigger brush is just to lay in a quick background, which I'll probably do just for fun. Because we're here, we might as well. And then just a couple of small round brushes. And I think that's a 1/2-inch flat brush that has seen better days, but it still does the job. So I'm going to just get right into it. I went ahead and got my brush wet. Kind of tap off the excess water. And I'm just going to, what do you think? Light blue underpainting? We'll just do that. So I just pulled some of my white out. Grab a little bit of blue. This is really just more to show you a technique, not to make a fancy painting. But I'm so used to laying in a base color that I feel like I just should do that. So, excuse me. I think I have a 5x7 canvas here. So I'm just gonna lay that in. And I don't know how well this is going to work being so close to my canvas. If you notice my camera, I'm gonna switch this. On my end, it looks like it's trying to focus over and over again. Did that just make it smaller? So it just keeps going in and out of focus, which really could just be distracting. So if that becomes a problem, please just let me know in the comments. Earlier, before I actually started, and I just had, there it goes, it's very blurry. And my camera was just sitting here. Oh my gosh, that's bad. That's what it is. Sorry. Hi, Joanne. How are you? So yeah, when my camera was just staring at the blank canvas, it was like almost pulsing with, you know, in focus, out of focus, just going back and forth. Good. I would say it's good to see you, the two of you, but I don't see you, but I hope you know what I mean. It's good to have you here. Bit of water just to thin that out, help it spread a little better. Now, if you guys hear any sort of screaming or squealing, that's my kids, and they're fine. That's just the sounds of my house. Sometimes it doesn't sound like they're fine, but they are. Most of the time, you know. It just wants to keep drying up on me. So this little canvas that I'm working with here, I just, every now and then I'll pick these up at the Dollar Tree. They're just good, especially for the kids. The kids like to use them. And then for just little projects like this, it's more for practice. They're good for that. These ones came in a, I think it came in a 3-pack for, well, it would be $1.25 now, but 3 little mini canvases for that price is pretty good, especially when you're just playing around. You can also buy packs of canvas pads, like a pad of paper, but it's canvas. I have never purchased those. I've been curious, but just haven't actually tried it. So I thought that would be great for also for practice. And I thought about it in the past for paint parties because I just have been priming a piece of paper and taping it to a board and painting on that. That way I don't end up with so many half-finished demos that are actually on, you know, a nicer stretched canvas, because then I accumulate them. I always think that I'll paint over them and use it for a different party. And in the beginning I was doing that, and then I don't know if I just got lazy. That's probably it. I think I got lazy. So I'm just giving that a minute to dry. And then I'll probably sketch in just some really rough shapes, so I have something to follow. May not be necessary. Sorry about my cameras all over the place. But I always kind of like to have some sort of idea of what I'm going to do. Got a little fiber in my paint. Okay. How's everyone doing so far? You guys painting along? Oh, I was going to, while that dries real quick, just tell you about this bunny. I'm sure you guys have seen this one. I named her Bonnie Bunny. Oh. You know, I hadn't thought to look for the canvas paper in an actual store. I just have seen it online and was just going to be lazy and purchase it that way. But have you used that canvas paper, Joanne? I'd like to know what you think of it. Good. Okay, so I was supposed to be painting this little bunny tonight at one of the rec centers, and there were just a couple people signed up, so we went ahead and just canceled it, which is why I get to do this tonight. Not the bunny, but so what I'm going to do with this girl here is on April 12th, it's a Tuesday, but it'll be recorded. I'm going to paint this, the whole bunny live. That'll be a $10 class, and you'll get the tracer for this, as well as the, excuse me, I can't speak, as well as the supplies list, of course. So I will, oh, okay. I'm going to see if I can attach the link for, I created an event for it, but haven't shared it yet. But that'll be an online live painting with the replay available afterwards. Okay. Was okay. Found it in Chicago while attending a wedding. Okay. I'm going to have to pick some of that up and just try it out. Okay. That's just about dry enough. Let me see if I can manage this. We'll find out. Oh, no. I can't. Oh. Oh, maybe that worked. Let's find out. No, looks like that went to YouTube. Nope, Facebook too. Sorry. Talking to myself. So if you would prefer to sketch in some flowers, just get some shapes in there, you can use anything you have. You can even just use, you know, one of your smaller brushes, like this little guy here. Just use, let's see, since we did a darker background, you could just use blue, just the blue by itself, something that will kind of blend in. Or, excuse me, just a regular pencil. Of course, I like my my chalk pastel pencil because chalk cleans up pretty easily. Excuse me. Or you can just totally freehand it and just go for it. Let's see. What do you guys want to paint first? Do you want to go for tulips first? think we'll start there. I do have a couple wet spots still. So let's get a variety of tulips in here. So maybe like one that's kind of, my paint might still be a little wet, so it's not liking my chalk. So I'm going to do one that's mostly round, so it'll be like a top view. I don't think you guys can even see that, but all I'm doing is just sketching in a circle. Maybe the pencil will work better. All right, and maybe another, let's see, it's almost like egg-shaped. You can see that. All right. Oh, if I would have gone this way with it, I could have made a tall bouquet. Maybe we could do that still. Things up. No. What do you guys think? Should we change it and do a tall bouquet? I'm so indecisive. I'm sorry. We'll just go with what I started already. So do a fluffy, we'll call it a ranunculus there. So I just kind of went over part of my sketch for my tulip. Let's do another one in there. These are kind of overlapping. I'm just going to paint right over it. I can't really erase too much. I don't usually use graphite. But see it at least a little better on there. Let's do a little. Shall we do a daffodil? Put one of those in there. A little crocus. So these aren't going to be super detailed or super realistic. Just got kind of the general shape of a crocus here. I just did a few little little petals. It's almost like, if you turn it this way, like a W, but with a little extra. Let's throw one over here. So go ahead and do another tulip from the side here. All right, how about colors? What color tulips should we do? Just go with, how about red? Red, pink. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to switch to my smaller, really ragged flat brush. And I'm just going to pull some white into a different well. A little bit of red. All right, so it's got a nice pink, but some little bits of red in there. It's kind of what I want. Freeze up. So let's start with this flower here. So we're going to want to think about the direction that the flower is facing. So of course this down here will be, that'll be the bottom, you know, and the top is up here. So we're looking at it from the side. We're going to keep our brush strokes going the direction of the petals from top to bottom. On the outside, you'll keep a nice curve. And so what I'm doing here is I'm not using just the edge of my brush. I'm laying the edge along that outline and applying a little pressure and just dragging that along that outline. So then it gives me a nice wide brush stroke rather than just a, you know, if I was using just the edge and not really applying pressure. I had a big blob on there, but I think you can see the difference of, it's almost like outlining, doing it that way. And hopefully you can see there are little streaks in there. So having those streaks in there is helping to create that contour rather than just having one thick brush stroke of just one color. In the middle will be just a little more, not exactly straight up and down, but just slightly, like I've slightly curved my brush strokes here. Just a little bit. And then go back to that area. And then keep this side nice and curved. So this is going to be a tulip that is a little more closed. All right, while that's still wet, I got just a little teeny tiny bit of red on the corner of my brush. And I'm going to, let's see. So I'm going to lay my brush the whole edge of it on there, and then just apply some pressure and sweep to the side. And just slowly lift off that pressure as you pull it up. You see how that's got a nice dark streak in there? And I still have just a little bit of red on my brush, so I'm going to use that same technique, but a little further away. Further away from that first streak of red. Same on this side. So what I'm going for is just kind of a nice, like the variegated tulips that have slightly different hues. So I grabbed just a little more red. And same technique. So in the center here, I'm going to bring my streaks all the way to the tip. But on the outsides, I'm going to have it curved, like the curve is going to be a little more pronounced. So it's going to bring that streak in to where it ends before the tip of the tulip. Strong one. Sorry if my camera keeps freezing up. Let me see if I can kind of do that again. Okay, I'm going to try that again. So I've got another little tiny bit of red on there. This time, because of the space here, I'm holding my brush with this corner at the bottom and using just the corner. So I'm pulling that up and then bringing it in this area. So then I have this red streak is going the full length and comes up to the tip of the tulip. And that's just giving a really subtle suggestion of separate petals here. So you just want to use a combination of, like I started with a pretty light pink, and then without rinsing my brush, went into some red. So I'm not rinsing my brush. I'm just grabbing little bits of red, and you can also grab little bits of white as you go to help create more streaks. I may have put in too many flowers for getting it done in an hour here. And that's okay. I just wanted to do a little bit of a variety. So on that one, maybe I grabbed just a little too much white. It's easy fix. Just go right back into my red with just the corner. And now I'm just Pulling that through. So I think that's looking all right for now. How are you guys doing? And that's just kind of a base coat. You know, we can always come back and do some more. Also, this video will be up on, excuse me, my YouTube and in the Facebook page and group. So it'll be there, you know, if you want to come back to this and do some more or do it again. Want to reference it at all, you can always come back and do that. All right, so now I'm going to move on to this one here to where it's going to look. So the one we just did is more facing this way, and this circular one is going to be more like this, if that makes sense. A little more of a top view. And just to make sure we get a good contrast, I'm going to go ahead and change the color. I'm just going to go to, I'm going to mix together an orange. I didn't bother to rinse my brush because it's all, you know, it's going to use red anyway. I'll just add yellow until I get a color I like. I have to keep scraping out my brush. Starts getting really loaded up with paint as I mix. Okay, let's check that color out. Let's get some white though. So just went ahead and grabbed some white, not totally mixing up a new shade of that. But okay, so for this one, since we're like looking at the top of it, it's going to be a little different. So I think this one is probably going to, what's going to keep it from looking like one of these ones is having kind of a smoother outline. Hopefully that makes sense, because this type of flower is going to be a little more fluffy. It'll have more like ruffly edges. This one here, so I'm going to apply the edge of my brush and apply pressure so that it kind of fans out. And oops, that was kind of a jerky movement. And you can kind of pull your brush and twist a little bit. So applying pressure. And pulling just a little and twisting a bit. And since you have your brush probably maybe looks something like this, where there's some of the darker color you mix, there's some white in there, maybe a little bit of pink still, it's just going to kind of all mix together. You'll get a nice, gosh, I can't tell how well you can see it, but get some nice streaking in there. And this is one you can add some red into this too. These are kind of fun because you just kind of get to play with it a bit and, you know, just see what's working. All right. So I got just a teeny tiny bit of red on there, and I'm gonna kind of swirl that in and see what I think of it. Trying to hold this so you can, so I'm not just putting my hand right in front of the camera, but so at this point, it might just look kind of like a ball. We just give it some more definition after a bit. That's quite a red streak, not really what I wanted. So while it's still wet, I'm just gonna run my brush over it again. I'm just trying to keep consistent with what I've been doing. And maybe grab a little bit of white. And of course, you can turn your canvas any direction you need. Whatever works with the natural range of motion in your wrist. Okay, I need to let that dry because all I'm doing is just, I keep just kind of lifting the paint. All right, so we'll come back to that. Now I am going to go ahead and rinse my brush. Oh, I would like to see that. I just ran some black through it. That would probably look pretty cool, actually. Oh, sleeve is bugging me. Okay. Are there yellow ranunculus? Maybe. All right, well, maybe. Sorry, I'm thinking out loud. So I think I'm going to lighten up my orange a bit. And since I'm kind of on a roll with tulips, I'll go ahead and paint this one in over here. again, changing up the curve of those streaks. To give it some contour. I kind of can't believe it's the weekend already. The weeks have been going by so fast lately. Unfortunately, the weekends go just as fast. So what I've done here for this one, I've just lightened up that orange, and then the orange that I started with for this one, I'm using as my darker orange for this second orange one. Still might need just a little bit of red to darken it up. Just a bit. So for this one, I'm just using the same technique that we used for that very first one. Keeping those outer edges more pronounced with the contouring. A little more all straightened up towards the center. So I'm going to grab just a little bit of yellow and try that out in here. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, I like that. Gave it a totally different color than the I was kind of just adding white to try to lighten it up. I think yellow is exactly what it needed. With a slightly more fiery color. So these all just look like eggs right now. I'm going to use the same color for this tulip over here. Not rinsing my brush, grabbing more yellow and white. Oops. So I would not say that I am good at doing these virtually yet. I've gotten better. And I actually used to think that I would not at all enjoy doing painting classes online. However, I've been finding since I've been working on, showing up more consistently online, I'm definitely creating more. And getting a little bit better about talking, I get to read your guys' comments, but it's definitely not the same as in person, of course. But I'm still rather enjoying it. Because at first I was just feeling like, oh, I'm just out here, talking to myself like a weirdo. But I don't feel so much like that anymore. Because really, I'm not talking to myself. I've got you guys here. I'm just getting more used to that. I do wonder though if it would be nice to do this more like a Zoom session at some point. And that totally went south there. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think it would be helpful to be live with me where we can speak to each other, or is this fine? All right, adding in some streaks there. This turned out so much closer to the color of this one, and I was trying to avoid that. Yeah, in person is definitely, I definitely prefer that. I prefer to be able to, come over and see what somebody's doing if they have questions, and to, gosh, I'm just repeating myself, just be able to see what's going on. And I feel like it's easier than, trying to show you on camera what I'm doing. It's not 3D here. So I just feel like it's easier to demonstrate. Oh no, no moldy flowers. You can always let that dry and go back to it. It might take a little bit. Black is, of course, a little more stubborn, trying to cover it up. So yeah, I need to get a hold of Duck down at Bon Me and Brews and try to get something set up. I've talked to him multiple times. They are so nice. the owners down there. Such nice people. And they've just been so busy that I haven't wanted to bother them with trying to set up an event or anything. But we have talked about it. Just thought they should have some time to let the dust settle a little bit and get a feel for the rhythm of their business. Because we kind of want to know when their slow times are, you know, to go in for a paint party. Definitely don't want to go in when there's a lot of activity going on, and take away from anything that they're potentially doing. Which they seem to do a lot of stuff, and I wish I could get out more, because what are they doing on Tuesdays? Tacos and music trivia? I think that sounds so fun. I don't know how well I would do with, is it music trivia or music bingo? Maybe it's music bingo. Still would be fun. Okay, so let's go over how to do some more fluffy flowers. And again, these are more kind of unfinished base coat. Which these ones will be too, but all right, what color for ranunculus? What should we do? Oh yeah. Yeah, let's get it set up. I'm sure I could talk to him. You know, it wouldn't be, I don't feel like it would be awkward for me to talk to him. But yeah, if people are requesting it, it might be a little, be able to make it happen a little sooner. And he had mentioned before possibly like a Saturday afternoon. I feel like Sundays at the Roundup, that's been working pretty well. But yeah, it can get a little rowdy in there. I missed you guys last time, and it was actually pretty calm. It's actually a pretty calm day there. We didn't have anybody walking around gawking at anybody's paintings. I don't want these to all be the same color, but I feel like I've kind of boxed myself in here where these need to be red. Let's go for yellow. Okay, so I went ahead and rinsed my brush. I had it quite full of paint, so kind of wiped it off on my paper towel and then rinsed the remaining paint out. And just go right into the yellow. Now these flowers are going to be a little bit like this tulip here, how it's more like open towards from our perspective, looking at it from the top. So we're going to use kind of the same technique as this tulip here, where it's going to be a little more round. So what I'm doing is just laying my brush on here. Well, I say laying, but so I start with, the edge of my brush, just put it on there, tilt it a little bit. It's kind of sideways, apply pressure, and twist. But to get that fluffier look, we're going to want it a little more kind of staggered. It's almost like we're making the letter C. So I'm putting the edge of my brush down, applying pressure and swooping and lifting up. So I started out with kind of a circular center, and then from there move to staggered C shapes. Making sure to get nice variations of yellow and white. Should have done some purple tulips. And these flowers will refine that a little more with highlights. I'm just dipping into some white with the corner of my brush, just pulling that through, apparently lifting it completely off after I applied it because that's all it did. Oh, now I want some banh mi. I'm so glad they finally opened. All right, I'm going to do the same here. The last time we ate there was actually my husband went and ordered and brought it home, but he didn't get there until kind of late, so they had their late night, a little more limited menu. So I didn't get what I wanted. It was still good, but I was really looking forward to one of their banh mi rice bowls. Yum. That just means I'm going to have to go back soon. Can't stop now. All right, I'm just using the corner of my brush, getting some white streaks in there. And I'm going to stop with that for now. Go ahead and rinse that brush. And I'm going to get into the little crocus things I have going on there. for that, so I grabbed my, I had two different round brushes. I grabbed the larger of the two. This one is a size 5. Doesn't totally matter too much. And I'm going to get into my purple. And this is always really translucent for me. So I'm just going to start by laying a base coat in there. And because of the shape of these, I'm going to put the tip of my brush into the tip of the petal, apply pressure, and then pull back and lift off pressure as I pull. So really translucent. All right, so I've got my purple base in there. Without rinsing my brush, I just dipped right into my white. And I'm going to use that same method. This might be too much white. We'll find out. A little too much. It can be fixed. So applying pressure, lifting off. And these can be, I'm kind of picturing it in my head, and maybe I have it backwards because I didn't actually look up a picture. I'm just going off of memory. So I could have it backwards, that they are lighter at the tips. I feel like they're darker though. So that's what I'm gonna go with. So I wiped that white off because I got a little bit much and went back into my purple. So I'm just gonna kind of go over that and kind of create a little bit of a gradient so that it ends up being a little darker at the edges. A little bit whiter in here. I've done these before with a little bit of blue in them, and those turned out pretty. I'll just grab a little bit of blue here just to play with it. That changed it a lot. So back into the purple. Pull that back. I'll call that good for now and move on to this one. I ended up with lots wider petals when I sketched that out, so I'm just kind of painting it in a little different, just get a shape that I like a little better. All right, some of that in there, go into white. So when putting the white in there, I kind of tried two different things here. It looks better if we don't put the white all the way in the tip of the petal. Just leave some of that plain purple, which will probably need a second coat of purple. And some of these, it doesn't seem to matter too much which brand you're using. Some are just really translucent. Some colors, I mean. And adding just a tiny bit of white usually really helps that. Not so much to, change the color, but just enough to add some opacity. Is that a word? Okay, that breaks up those pastel colors a little bit. Go back to this one here. All right. So let's go in with this same brush. I went ahead and rinsed it. Let's start adding some shading. So I'm going to start with the reds. Grab a little bit of red, tiny bit of black, like just a little teeny tiny bit to start with. Darken up that red. So I'm going to start down here with this tulip. And I'm just applying the tip of my brush, light pressure, and pulling it out, staying consistent with the direction of the original brush strokes. I'm going to darken up that outer edge just a bit. can always, I'm gonna just kind of scrape my brush out just a little bit and dipped into my water, just kind of thin out that dark paint. And start pulling it up a little bit, which that seems pretty drastic right there, that difference. So I'm going to wipe my brush off so it kind of dries a little bit, and then just kind of even that out some. Not even it out, just kind of what am I trying to say? So I'm just kind of wiping my brush and then going back into the water. So each time I'm getting more water and less color. Trying to kind of tone this down and give it a little bit more of a gradient rather than just having a really stark line. So I really thinned it out quite a bit. And that still looks a little dark. So because I want to keep this lighter up top, so I just wiped off my brush. Got it kind of dry. I'm going to start from up here and pull down so that I'm bringing the darker paint back towards the bottom. And just kind of giving a little bit of shade to the tip of it there. Just to give the illusion of, you know, like these are separate petals on the side. So this is one big petal going across. Oh, thank you, River. How are you guys doing? Right. It's kind of darkening this up. Okay. So let's do this one next here. So I'm just going to grab some of this orange that I had mixed up. And I'm going to add just a teeny. Maybe a little more red. Now, I'm not sure that that's enough of a contrast. Yeah, I think that works. So sometimes you just have to kind of try it out, see if it actually makes a difference. Just apply a little tiny bit. Have you been doing any tie-dye projects, Jenny? I saw all your fabric swatches. That was cool. It never even occurred to me that fabrics, fabric swatches would be something you would want to do, but it so makes sense. Why wouldn't you do that? All right. So I've got my brush kind of dry. There's enough paint on it for me to be applying paint, but not big blobs of it. And just really light pressure, just pulling this color through here and creating some shadow. And again, just keeping with that same direction of the brush strokes that you originally did. And if you want that a little darker towards the stem end, just a little more black into that. Just in that area. Okay. So this one over here is similar, so I'm just going to use that same color that I mixed up. Create some shadow here. Oh, my belly's growling. Okay, just a little bit of shadow on that one. You can always go a tiny bit darker if you want more shadow. So what I did there, I just picked up a tiny bit of black. My paint's pretty wet, so I'm just going to rely on blending it right on the canvas, just to add a little extra teeny bit of darkness there. All right. So we're going to give this one a little bit of definition. Nice. It's getting slightly warmer, so not yet, but I'm just always hopeful that it's going to warm up. And some days I make really bad clothing decisions because I feel like I can just coerce Mother Nature into being warm if I wear clothing that needs warm. It doesn't work though. Okay. I'm going to use red, a little bit of black. So this one here, you're going to want a dark center. Maybe not that dark. That's pretty dark. That's okay though. Oh, it's pretty dark. So going around the outside a little bit with it, but breaking up the lines. I'm not trying to completely outline it. That's what I needed for this one up here. Just add a little extra. Another layer of shading to this one. Okay, now that might be a bit much for that one there. So I'm going to wipe off my brush. Get it kind of wet. And then I still have some of that orange mixed up for that one. So I'm just going to dip into that and get some of that. And it's a little darker because I didn't really clean my brush. And I'm just going to kind of blend that in a little bit, that dark. I actually really like that color that came out, but it was maybe just a little too much for where it was being used. So that just kind of toned it down a little bit. And while that's wet, rinse my brush a little bit. Let it wet. That's water coming off is still kind of colored, you can see. Just going to grab some white. And I have it fairly runny. I don't want thick. I don't want thick paint. And just give some highlights. Not like bright highlights, but kind of smoothing out some of those staggered lines. Didn't totally mean to cover all that up. So I'm just using a wipe just to get rid of some of that, what I just did. Because it covered up a lot more than I intended. And I do want some of that dark in there. This is kind of why I take so long to paint, because I do something and I don't like it, and then I redo it. It's just a process. Okay. Good there for now. All right, we'll do some dark in these two and then do some quick highlights. Okay, so to darken up for the shading in those flowers, I'm going to take some of that dark red that I just had, add it to some yellow. These ones, it's going to be more concentrated in the center, so I'm just using the tip of my brush. Applying just a little bit of pressure and sweeping little like parentheses. And so alternating those. And the further out you go, the bigger they get. Okay, same thing on the other one. Oh goodness. All right, I'm trying to make it back inside for the bedtime routine. Which probably won't happen. But we're getting close here. All right, no daffodils in this painting, but I kind of like this combination. Okay. If that needs to be darker in any areas at all, just take that same color that you just did. Sometimes all it takes is just to kind of squish out the paint that's in your brush already. So just for a few darker areas, I just grabbed a teeny tiny bit of black and just kind of mashed my brush around, and it mixed it with the color that was in my brush already. Just a little extra depth there. Okay. How's everybody doing? Whoa, getting crazy with my rinse water. Oh, it's getting cold. All right, I think I'm going to leave the crocuses just like they are. I don't really want to do a whole lot of darkening on those. So what we're going to do now, rinse your brush really well. Grab some white. And I'm going to start with this tulip here. I'm going to highlight the very top of it. And maybe this part so it kind of breaks that up a little bit. And maybe get your brush wet with the white paint on there and just thin out that white paint. And then you can bring some brighter white streaks into that flower. So when you thin it out, it's more of a wash that you're applying. And it just kind of mutes that color just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to move on to this tulip. Do the same thing. So I've got a pretty thin white that I'm applying. And I'm not completely outlining it. I've got a little bit on the outer edge here. We have it broken up. Kind of pulling that through there a little bit. Same for this tulip. And to define between these two, you can kind of outline that the edge of the orange one here. I got just a little thicker white. Okay. And then for these guys here, I'm gonna just got some white on there. And just like we did with the shading, you're just gonna pull some white streaks through there. Just kind of alternating, keeping those really gentle curves. And some of these lines you can do a really stark white. Really get a good highlight on there. Again, same for this one. That's okay, Sherry. That's the only way anybody gets any better. Just practice, practice. And painting can be very different when you're first starting. I actually was not sure when I started learning acrylics. I wasn't sure that I actually enjoyed it. And full disclosure here, I didn't actually start using acrylics until I was getting ready to start my business. So it was a bit of a, I don't know, I really had to think about it, because when I started working with acrylics and thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not sure I like this medium. Just, you know, really had to put some thought into it. And then the more I worked with it, I don't know if I want to say the easier it got. I think it was just more my comfort level working with it. And I mean, that's the biggest thing, is just, like you said, more practice. You know, just find different things to do, different exercises. I don't mean like working out, of course. What am I trying to say? Like different challenges, I guess, that are going to push you just a little bit. Yeah, watercolor. That's another one that I'm not going to say that I'm good at it at all, but I've gotten more comfortable with it. And I actually just signed up for, oh, I forgot this one. Did I forget? Oh, nope, sorry. No, I did the wash on there. So if your wash is not giving you the highlights that you'd like, you can always just go right back over top of that wash. So yeah, I just signed up for a 30-day challenge that started today and I haven't even checked into it, but it's to paint 30 faces in 30 days with watercolor. And the challenge also has lessons. So there's a lesson for each day. It's like an hour out of every day. And I don't know what I was thinking that I would have time to do that. I've got so many other things I'm trying to focus on, but it's like I just couldn't resist. Could not resist it. We'll see how much I actually get done. So that's okay. Your painting looks way different. Um, that's good, I think. It should have a little more of you, more Eunice. Oh, that's like that's a name, isn't it? Eunice. I was thinking more you-ness. Should have more of your aesthetic. That's one of my favorite parts of paint parties is just seeing how different they all turn out. So yeah, if you want to share, um, if you are on Facebook, and then I think Sherry, you just joined the free group, is that right? Um, I think it was Sherry. You can go in there and you can create your own post and post your own photo. Should be able to. I've been having some issues with it. I'm going to highlight just a little bit the tips of the crocus here, like just the edge. Same with this one. Um, yeah, I've been having some issues. Like people can't always share a photo in the comments of a post. And I don't know what that's about. I think I have an idea of what's causing that is that I can get on and schedule posts. So I could sit down if I was super motivated or organized. I think that's more the issue is the organization part. I can sit down, you know, at the beginning of the month and schedule a post for every single day for the next month or the next 2 months, however far out it will let me go. And it seems to be the ones that I have scheduled, for example, the work in progress Wednesdays, encouraging people to share what they're working on. When they're scheduled, there's not an option to comment with a photo. But you can always go in and create your own post and share a photo that way. So one more thing you could do here is like we did a wash with the white, you can do the same thing with black. You get a pretty soupy black and just areas, just touch. Like just a little bit in there. Okay, I should probably call it a night. I hear the bedtime routine is going on. The kids might be giving Dad a little bit of trouble. It's that time of day. So yeah, I always kind of like the wash of black so that it's not a super hard contrast there. Just lightens it up a bit. If you wanted to, you could do some greenery coming off of these, or just leave it as is. Maybe just a little bit of wash on the crocus. I'm almost done. I'm still on. That wash just keeps getting a little more wild. Okay. I'm glad you enjoyed this, and just keep doing it. The biggest thing is, you know, as long as you are having fun and enjoying it. One more fun little detail you could do. White on my pointy brush. And just do little dots for like baby's breath. I don't think you can really see that. Kinda. Just a fun little addition. All right, ladies, I'm going to call it a night. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you guys ever have any questions, anything, you know, just shoot me a message on here or email. Yeah, anything, or any requests for demonstrations, just let me know. And again, thank you. You guys have a good night and a great weekend. I will see you later. And don't forget, if you want to paint Bonnie Bunny, that one's coming up April 12th. All right, see you guys later.